welcome to another episode of Inside Evo, and today we have Dickie Meaden with us.
Hello.
Who's star of many Evo TV videos. Don't forget to subscribe, some more good videos coming up. Dickie is co-founder of Evo, has been with the magazine for a long time.
Forever.
Does it feel like that?
Yeah.
And Dickie also spends a lot of his weekends racing a huge variety of cars. This year, you've been racing something that is oversteery, I think we can say.
Yes, and old. It's a little bit outside of Evo's normal remit, I think you could say. But
it looks great fun. So tell us about it. It's Lotus Cortina.
It's a Lotus Cortina, which is 50 years old this year. So it's a really good year to be racing them. It's in a championship called U2TC, which stands for under 2 litre touring cars.
Yeah.
So there's quite a nice mix. There's Lotus Cortinas, there's Alfa Romeo GTAs, there's BMW 1800 Ti SAs. So they're all pre-66 cars.
Yeah.
There's a smaller engine class as well, so Mini Cooper S's and little rear-engined Fiats.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of stuff going on.
And you've raced at some cool tracks this year, haven't you?
This year's been brilliant, actually. There's the first race of the year was at Donington for the historic festival, and then we went to Monza, and then after Monza it was Dijon, and then a weekend or so ago it was Silverstone for Silverstone Classic.
Now tell us about how these cars drive. Tell us about this Lotus Cortina in particular.
They're quite unlike any sort of modern car you might drive. They're really, really slidey because they're on historic tyres. All the cars are on the same tyres. They're very light, 750 kilos is their sort of homologated weight. Power figures are sort of not really talked about in the paddock because no one wants to let anyone else know quite how much power they've got, but they're certainly over 180 horsepower from a twin-cam 1600 Lotus engine, so significantly more than they ever made when they were racing back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just fantastic fun. They feel quick, they feel precise, they're quite tricky because you're managing everything. You're managing the steering, and obviously there's no anti-lock brakes, and the brakes are quite easy to lock. There's not a great deal of grip. They're quite tail happy. So there's a lot going on. You're always really, really busy in the car, but it's so much fun, and they're so competitive. I think it's generally, I'm new to historic racing, but it's generally accepted that U2TC is pretty much the most competitive, most intensely fought championship there is for old cars. So it's really good fun, and you get some really interesting drivers that dip in and out of it as well.
Yeah. So do you get a sense driving the Lotus Cortina how Jim Clark became so well known for driving that car?
I think it's very hard to say. I'm not sure he would probably recognise the Lotus Cortinas that are racing today because they're significantly more powerful, and I think because the championship is so competitive, like any competitive motorsport, the cars are developed and honed and refined, so they're not the big sort of inside front wheel wagging cars that they used to be. But that said, I think drivers of his era, they were always racing lots and lots of different things. It was sort of pre-downforce, so everything moved around quite a lot. So it was a very different driving style to the one that modern Grand Prix drivers or touring car drivers are used to today. Historic racing, you maybe give each other just enough room. You're obviously trying not to make contact with the cars because they're quite precious things, and they're not disposable panels. You know, there's a lot of work to fix the cars. But you can see from the in-car, the mirrors are probably interlocked at some stage.
Well, let's talk about this race then at Silverstone, the 2013 Silverstone Classic. Talk us through the start and where you qualified on the grid and what it was like going into that first corner.
Qualifying, safe to say, it didn't go quite as well as we'd hoped, but we did okay. We fixed it, 2 drivers as well. Most of the races are 1 hour long. This particular race was 50 minutes.
Right.
I was starting, I'd qualified 5th, I think, from memory, and we were quite a long way off the pole position car, which was also a Lotus Cortina.
How many on the grid then?
51 cars, so it was ridiculous in the assembly area. There's just lines and lines and lines of cars. So yeah, probably the biggest, I would say it's the biggest grid, certainly in UK historic racing.
So you qualified 5th out of 50 odd cars. You lined up to the grid. Is it a standing start, rolling start?
No, rolling start.
Okay.
So that's quite exciting because you don't have the sort of shaky left leg when you're watching the lights go, but there's a build-up of anticipation, and everyone's warming their tyres and brakes, and then you have to form up in grid order, and everyone bunches up, and you're kind of waiting for the lights to change. So that it's a really, you feel this pressure building up, and then there's a similar kind of release when the lights go and you're into the racing. You're not really too apprehensive then, you just have to get stuck in.
So you're off towards the first corner, the field's spreading out a little bit, and notice that somebody's coming up on the left-hand side. Who was that?
There's a guy called Jackie Oliver, who is a bit of a legend, actually. He was raced in Formula 1, he won Le Mans, he won Sebring, he won Can-Am, he's done everything, founded the Arrows Formula 1 team, and he's still one of the front-running drivers in a BMW. Lotus Cortinas are the most prevalent in the series. There's a few quick BMWs, there's a few quick Alpha GTAs, but he's always there or thereabouts. He always qualifies well, so in the top 5 cars. Okay. And he's really, really on it all the time. So he's always one of the drivers that you're mindful of, because he's always going to be quick and he's uncompromising. So you
through the first corner, 3 abreast. Sometimes it seems like you're 4 abreast, and then up front in the red BMW. Who's that?
Andy Prio was doing a guest drive, so 3-time World Touring Car champion. He did really well. I think he qualified second on the grid. So again, totally different to what he's used to, slicks and wings and lots of downforce and sequential box, or probably paddles or whatever. And there he is in a pre-66 BMW saloon car. So I think he was having a brilliant time.
So you found you got into a groove, sort of first 5-6 laps or so, and then it seemed like from the footage that you're just starting to pick people off one by one.
Yeah, I got a bit mugged at the start because of everything that was going on, and I think I dropped 1 place or 2 places and then made up 1 place very quickly. And then things settled down, and the way these cars are, and particularly at Silverstone, you don't want to drop too far off the back of a pack, because it's quite hard to close up the distance between you again. I always tend to race better than I qualify, so the first few laps seemed to go quite quickly. I made a couple of places up on Cortinas quite soon. So there's a guy called Leo Voyezades, who is a stalwart sort of historic racer. He's got all sorts of really fantastic cars, and he always races Cortinas, and they're the guys to beat, him and a guy called Simon Hadfield. So I knew it was important to get past him, because Simon is a bit quicker than him. So as the race pans out, you need to make up as much time as you can on the guys that you know you're quicker than. By the time I managed to get past him, Jackie Oliver and Phil Keane and Andy Prio had pulled out a bit of a gap. So I had to get my head down a bit. And fortunately they were they were fighting all the time. So I think they slowed each other down a little bit.
You think they was tripping each other up a little bit, and you had a chance to...
and I'd managed, there was no one immediately behind me, so I could concentrate on trying to do the best few laps I could.
So you're catching Prio. All the while, are you checking him out? You're watching where he's quick, where he's slow, where you're quicker. You're trying to sense when he's going to make a mistake, or trying not to make a mistake yourselves. What's going through your head as you're catching?
I think it's just always constantly trying to tread this line and not lose so much time, but you're trying to pressure them into a little mistake, which obviously someone of his experience is unlikely probably to really pressure him too much. But
you were pressing something on the steering wheel though,
rather
a lot.
The boys, the Cortina that I drive is prepared by a team called Raceworks, and they've got a sense of humour. So there's it's got like a headlight flasher button, like a Japanese GT car or something. So I was laughing whenever I got up behind him. I'd give him a pop on the flashes in the hope that it would distract him a little bit. I think he was probably surprised the first time seeing it in a 50-year-old car. But so that was quite funny. But looking back at some of the video, I'm surprised how many laps we were in very close quarters. In my mind, before I'd looked at it, it seemed like I'd caught up with him, and then managed to overtake quite quickly. But it was a long, probably 5 or 6 laps, which the 2.5-minute laps. So it's.
Well, let's talk about that moment then. As you're heading for the overtake, you've got good exit onto Hangar Straight.
Yeah, I had a good run through Copse.
Yeah.
He ran a bit wide, or a bit wider than I did. And then Maggots Beckett's again is a very fast approach in fourth gear, and then you need to change down in the middle of the corners and then keep your momentum up as much as you can, and then you change up into fourth just on the exit again.
Yeah.
And I got a really good run, got into his toe, and he didn't really have much of a chance to try and block me because I caught him early on the straight. So then we're just side by side all the way down the straight.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to think about who I'm attempting to overtake. So yeah, it was a really cool moment actually. I think the whole race is the best race I've ever done.
And you gave a little signal to the team on the pit wall.
Rather embarrassingly, when we went past and I was leading.
Brush that over that.
The Vettel finger came out.
So you got to the lead, and then what happened?
Well, it's a compulsory pit stop, and there's a pit stop window within the race. So as I said, normally they're an hour long. This particular race was 50 minutes, but the pit stop window was still, the earliest you could stop was 20 minutes into the race. The latest you could stop was 40 minutes.
Right.
And it transpired that we pitted 40 minutes and 16 seconds into the race. So it was a little bit confusing because at the time, we finished second on the road, which we lost some time during the pit stop because the car wouldn't restart, which was frustrating. But that's old cars for you. And then it was like hours afterwards when the officials had gone through their various things that they applied a 1 minute penalty. So officially we finished seventh, but no one was too disappointed because it was the first 40 minutes and 16 seconds were absolutely mega. So.
No, the footage is fantastic. It looks brilliant. So you got a taste for the historic racing now?
I love it. Yeah.
Because you did the Nürburgring 24 again this year with Aston Martin, which has become a bit of a regular for yourself now. What else have you got planned then on the historic side?
More U2TC stuff.
Yep.
So Paul Ricard at the end of August.
Yep.
And then Spa at the end of September.
Yep.
And I think
Spa will be mega, won't it?
Yeah, Spa should be really good.
Lotus Cortina.
Yeah, there'll be lots of slipstreaming, I think, around there. And then a few other cars. I think I'm racing a competition Daytona at Paul Ricard. Okay. As well. So whole world of amazing things to drive.
You've been doing this a lot last week.
I know.
Or so.
I had like MotoGP rider arm pump for some reason. I couldn't take my crash helmet off. I couldn't take my glove off. Anything. So
because you're constantly
too much steering. And not enough gym exercise. Well, no gym exercise.
Right.
So. Yeah, I don't know how my arm will...
They just cut you open in MotoGP.
Do they?
Just cut it open and hoover it out, stitch it up again. Dr. Costa.
I'll do that.
I'll get his number for you. All right. Thanks, Dickie.
No worries.
Great to see the footage, and it's good to see you have so much fun in the car. It does look brilliant fun. Don't forget to check out some of Dickie's other videos on Evo TV. Search for a number of track battles that Dickie's done. Also some fun stuff with our friend Tiff as well, Tiffany Dale.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Check out more episodes of Inside Evo very soon.